Before you open vMix, you first want to make sure the scorebot is connected to the Daktronics console and plugged into the network, pulling a proper IP address. In most cases, the IP address should start with a 10 dot something. Once the scorebot is set up, open Live XML. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm using the Sportscast test scorebot, so under Vendor, it says Sportscast. If you are connected to one of our scorebots, you should see Colorado Mesa University listed as the vendor. If Colorado Mesa University is not the vendor, make sure you have the correct bot number listed. The scorebot number can be found on a sticker attached to each scorebot. Once you type in the bot number, click Retry. On a laptop, the button will be cropped and you'll only see RET. Make sure the live file path is set to the proper sport. So here, it's set to football stats on the G drive. All output files are available on the G drive in a folder called Live XML Output Files. Some laptops may have the output files available directly on their hard drives in the Documents folder. You can use either output file, but you need to make sure you know which one you're using so that you can direct vMix to pull data from it. Check that live file type is set to XL. And if the path is not correct, you can go to Live File Path to find the correct output file. Also, make sure the Live XML output is on. If all of your settings are correct and the scorebot will not connect to Live XML, there's a chance that Sportscast server is experiencing technical difficulties. We can bypass the server by going to File, Edit Config, and inputting the scorebot's IP address. Type in the bot number and click Save. If the data still does not populate, the scorebot may not be connected to the network or may not be pulling data from the Daktronics console. Next, open vMix and select the appropriate file for the sport you're covering. In most cases, the data source that pulls information from Live XML will already be set up, but if it's not, you'll have to open the Data Source Manager. Click the plus sign in the upper left corner and select XL. Change the source name to the corresponding sport, then locate and select the appropriate XL file. This is why it's important to know whether you're pulling data from the G drive or the laptop's hard drive. Check the box that says Use First Row as Column Names and click OK. You should see the data populate. You can now close the data source window. Next, you need to assign data to the appropriate fields on the scorebug. Right-click on the bug source and select Title Editor. Manually change the team names and, for this example, manually update the team records. You can find that information on the school's website. For each of the other fields, you need to assign the corresponding source column. So, in this case, our first field is Home Score, or H-score. Click Data Source and set it to your Excel source. Then, under Column, find the corresponding field. Some fields, like quarters, have multiple options. We use the field that says QTR text. For timeouts, we use the HTO and VTO graphic field. And for football, we use down distance, down DIST, for the downs field. We pull clock data from a web browser, so rather than assigning an Excel field to the clock, delete whatever text is listed in that field. To change the visiting team logo, select the Images tab, click on Visitor Logo, select Browse, and find the appropriate graphic in the folder called RMAC Logos 2022 on the G drive. You would use this same process to change any customizable color overlays on the scorebug. You would find the overlays in a folder called 2D Color Overlays or 3D Color Overlays, also located on the G drive. Once the fields are all updated, you can close the title editor. Some sports, like football, soccer, and lacrosse, may have additional graphics that give game information other than what is found on the scorebug. For example, ball on for football. Make sure you assign any necessary fields to those supplementary graphics. There may be instances where the automatically populated text does not fit properly in the designated spot on the scorebug. When this happens, Go back into the title editor, select the field that needs adjustment, and then click the minus sign above the text until it fits properly. You'll be able to see the text size change in the Program or Preview window. You may also want to make the timeout graphics larger, as they default to a smaller size than on the original template. Just make sure you adjust both home and visitor timeouts equally. If a part of a graphic that cannot be altered in the title editor needs to be adjusted, you need to fix it in the master graphic. For example, in this score graphic, the possession marker overlaps the team's names, so we need to shift the names to the right. Go to GT Title Designer and open the GT-zip file that corresponds to the offending graphic. Click on the layer you need to change and resize or shift it as necessary. Go to File, Save, but don't close Title Designer just yet. Minimize the window instead. Right-click on the titled tile in vMix and select Reload. The graphical change will show up in the program window. If the graphic still isn't positioned properly, go back to Title Designer and readjust it, repeating the previous process. Once the title is properly positioned, close Title Designer.